A Saturday weekend. It's a beautiful day here. It's warm. How you doing, Rage? How you doing, Pseudo? Uh-oh. Why has Rage and Pseudo been suddenly reversed by...
Now I am Rage.
I guess I'm just Pseudo now, I guess.
Why do you do this? Why do you just... Oh, hey, you know what? I'm going to reverse the order. You know what? I can fix this. I can totally fix this.
I can fix this. Oh, there we go. There we go. Fixing is happening.
There.
Kind of. Redacted Rage.
Rage-dacted. That's because Pseudo used to have the image and it was real bright and we needed some blacking behind his name. See it? Now we don't need that. I'll just move it.
True.
How's it going, everybody? How was your Saturday? We don't have a lot of people here yet. Twitch didn't send out the notification. They've been real bad
Entirely
about
possible.
that lately. They've been real bad about that lately. Either that or everyone's like, we already know Sekiro.
Yeah,
Damn, I love that game.
we know all about Sekiro. I am totally willing to talk about Sekiro at any given point in time, though.
Yeah, even to nobody. I will talk about Sekiro. Because we need to add it to our review backlog, period. It needs to be in there. It needs to be added to the wiki, which has entries for games. Somebody needs to go in and format something. I tried to put the data in, and I was like, wow, this is hideous. So if somebody can go do one and make it look good for me, I'll copy the blueprint, the structure, and push it onto all of them, and we'll get the content done that way. But I took a look at it, and it was not. Confluence is really hard to make look like anything other than anal asshole. Just like big single brown eyes staring right at you after you've done it. That's all you can see.
Well, shall we talk about Sekiro then?
Yeah. Pseudo's actually played some of it now, which is great, so he can talk about it. Oh, we will get this going so that when the people do eventually join in view, there we go.
Typity type. I really need to fix that.
Yeah, you'll say that a lot.
And maybe one day I'll even do it.
The world building. Sekiro. They call you a Sekiro.
Sekiro. The world building, I would say, is not actually one of the stronger parts of this game.
I agree. I was actually kind of disappointed by it.
And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that they are trying to take sort of a mythical approach to a certain period in Japanese history.
Yeah, they're trying to make it very accurate. Everything used in it is very accurate to the lore and legend of that era. It's a masterfully done game, and I don't think the world building is bad or even necessarily okay. I think it's still pretty good, but I was still disappointed by it, mainly due to the high bar expectation set by previous games of that developer.
Yeah, just games developed by FromSoft in general.
Yeah, they set a bar as a de facto for world building in Bloodborne that basically I compare every game to. And it didn't live up to their previous title. So it was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for more, but I don't think that makes it bad. It's like Dark Souls 2 is a good game. It's just not a good Dark Souls game.
Yeah, if Dark Souls 2 had some other IP attached to it, heck, if it was a Darksiders game,
oh yeah,
it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, if it
Would've
came out
been
as
great.
Darksiders, they're like, what? This is what they did with Darksiders? This is amazing!
But it was indeed a Dark Souls game. So yeah, I would say at least an okay for world building.
So we have Pseudo here, which is great because he hasn't played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Bloodborne. Only Sekiro.
Oh yes, that's
so
very
how
true.
do you find the world building in it?
Actually, I liked it. I thought it set it well, what's going on around it. I don't think it got in the way or subtracted from it, but I'm also newer to this style of game, so it's probably you guys have probably had like the kind of I'm trying to think of the word of it. The bar is set a bit higher. You guys haven't been exposed to this stuff, but I thought it was fairly well done. I understand where I am, why I'm here, what's kind of going on around me, and it is fairly unique to a lot of other kind of action slash games. It's not an action slash game, but the other games that I can remember for like the kind of world building. I'm like, okay, this is kind of neat. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't really understand what's around me a lot of the time. I'm just walking, and next thing you know, there's a big old snake. But I figured that'll get explained eventually. But
No,
it's
you have
definitely
to explain it. That's the beauty of their games. Nothing gets explained to you, but everything has an explanation. So when you find it and are intrigued by it, you then have to go explore, and search, and inquire in order to find out what was actually happening there. The difficulty of the game then becomes the impedance to figuring out what is happening. So well done.
Yeah, but I really like the memories, the way how they have everything's like, everything's like you're kind of traveling through memories. Like when you go to do the invasion castle and you talk to everyone to kind of figure out what's going on. I feel like they set it up that way pretty well, and it kind of makes sense. I can get a little bit lost sometimes if I'm not paying attention to what's happening. Next thing you know, I jump off some cliff somewhere, land in some strange area, and I'm like, I don't really know what's going on, but let's just keep on trucking. But the world I'm in feels solid. It's definitely not subtracting away from me. I do understand that if the bar is higher from other games, would drop this to being okay. But for me, I think it was really well done.
Yeah. So
you found then. Sorry, Des.
No.
You found then that you were not sort of left unfulfilled by the world.
Yeah, I was definitely pulled into it, and I'm definitely kind of looking around, being like, "Ooh, this is cool. This is neat. This is intriguing me. What's going on here?" The world, like the actual like setting itself of like the actual time place of like the kind of samurai feudal system that's kind of going on, and the whole like when the big honchos come out, and you're like, okay, like this is neat. The way that everyone just kind of talks to you and everyone communicates with themselves. It's just I feel like it ties everything kind of together very well. Nothing really feels too out of place, even though everything. There are some like pretty big outliers that you wouldn't expect in this kind of world, like the giant snake and stuff like that. But even then, it doesn't feel like it because of everything else to kind of tie in with it. It's like, okay, this is just a kind of really cool area that I get to kind of explore, and I kind of just don't mind running off in a place. But okay, what the hell am I going to run into here? And next thing you know, there's a bunch of monkeys. And I'm like, okay, what's happening to me? And then all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people shooting at me, and I'm running on a bridge. And
hey, look, that monkey has some swords. Oh my god, I'm dead.
Talk to some dude who's sitting on the side, and he said, "Oh, we tried to storm this fortress, and it's too strong." And I'm like, "Okay, well, my turn, I guess. Let's go." Turns out it is hard.
So to look at it from a low bar, rather than trying to look at it from our high bar, which is really unfair to the game, to look at it from the low bar, I genuinely felt like I was in feudal Japan.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to bring up, that we are definitely colored by the fact that we have played other FromSoft titles. And I think that's a very good perception to have in the group, that Pseudo hasn't. He hasn't played all the other FromSoft titles.
Yeah.
And I think the correction, happy Saturday, Pookie,
hey,
is
Pookie, how you doing? Enjoyed that Animal Crossing of yours.
The correction is very much appreciated, and I think you're right. I think I shouldn't judge it so harshly based on previous games, and it is good world building.
Yeah, and it's like you can still have good, and then like it I can see it getting shouted a bit, but it shouldn't still subtract from the experience itself. It's just unfortunately we can't just.
The best way I can explain it is, so like we've got this Bloodborne bar that we just loved and is ingrained into us, and every time a FromSoft game comes out, we're just hoping that something can match this experience. And it's like walking into this perfect world full of depth and wonder and everything done perfectly, and just being like, no flying dragons.
No abominations from the void beyond. Come on. Oh, apparently your voice is low.
Thank you. New
Let's turn up the dais.
technologies. How's that? Is that better?
Are we a little bit more balanced now? Let's do a little bit of talking.
How's that? Better? We can even do this. There. Everybody talk. La 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 la.
Check. Test.
Still better? Yes? Good?
Pseudo, it's all on you.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me? Test, talking now.
Maybe a little bit more pseudo.
Audio is legitimately very difficult.
Yeah, and we just got a brand new setup. It's our first time using it. There we go. I'm pretty happy now. Okay.
Yay, we did it.
Yay. I had to be jacked up. Okay.
So let's summarize our thoughts on world building then.
It felt like we truly were in feudal Japan. All the extreme elements felt in place despite being theirs.
Larger text.
And rap. Don't forget to rap.
Yo doggy dog.
So I saw this meme online with all sorts of like famous stoner people, and it was like, choose your like ideal session, and Snoop Dogg is on there, and everyone's choosing Snoop Dogg, and my first thought was, I don't want to smoke with Snoop. I mean, I love Snoop Dogg, and I'd love to sit there and watch him smoke, but you don't smoke with Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is the biggest Bogart on the planet. He'll just sit there and smoke the whole thing as he talks to you, then ask you if you have any. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but it wouldn't be a good session. What am I looking for?
Zoom.
Is it under format? Format, rapping, rap. There we go. And we need bigger size.
We should probably go make these changes to the actual template itself as well.
I kind of like it at 12. But again, everybody can just follow along if they want to as well. The link is always there. Ragebot will be spamming it. Characters. I think is it good?
I think my opinion on this is also colored because it's not done in the same way as other FromSoft games. The characters in this game are much more present, much more focused in the story. And the way that they're handled to me was a little bit off-putting because you kind of only get like one dialogue option that you're going through, and you only get like one side of the character. But I do think that they were very well written.
Yeah, well written. They have meaning, they have purpose, they have drive, they have independent desires and story and focus. They're not necessarily good or bad. They're just counter to your purpose or with your purpose. And how can you not love Genichiro and Ishin?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Also, just all the big enemy and boss dialogues are just fantastic.
My name.
Definitely non-forgettable.
Yeah, and yeah, lots of great one-liners and from the bosses and stuff like that. I'm gonna put it good there.
I do not disagree, but there was also some stuff that felt like it could have used a more expanded dialogue system.
Some areas maybe. I'm okay with how it is. It's not really like kind of an RPG, but you're more following the story of Sekiro than choosing his path. There's little things you can do.
Yeah, I think if they put that in, then they'd probably fall into the path of pointless dialogue options,
Yeah,
where
I'm
you
with
just
you.
have like 3 or 4 things, and then they all end up at the same ending, anyways, right? And for them to have separate outcomes, like gets pretty complicated pretty fast.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
instead just give you the one option, let you give your one option, and get you right back into the combat, which is honestly the highlight of the game. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. I feel like there's sides of the characters in the game that you don't get to explore, and I would have liked to, like the additional conversations that you get being gated by finding them sake.
Mhm.
I thought was kind of a weird choice, but okay. I mean,
I kind of
it
liked
feels
it.
like they're trying to adapt the Dark Souls style, like you have to go find a specific item for a specific person, and then you'll unlock another piece of dialogue to get you that little lore tidbit that you've been trying to get. Um, I don't know.
I
It
kind
felt
of liked the
weird
sake
to me.
idea. Burn it with different people, and it encourages multiple playthroughs. And
Yeah. Definitely not enough to take it away, take it from a good to an okay, but just something that I felt was a little weird.
yeah, it's them trying something new. They always do little new things. They make lots of little incremental changes to their games. Proven to work very well.
Oh,
Turns out the scientific method works. Who knew? Characters were well written. Come on. With meaning, backstory, and purpose. They were not good or evil, just for purpose or counter to it. Happy with that?
Yep, I think that's a very good way to sum that up.
Storyline. Pseudo. You haven't gotten too far into it, but what do you think of the beginning story? How does it have you
I've-
engaged in feeling?
I've liked it so far, especially the whole how it starts, kind of when bad with names, so you don't have to forgive me on this. But the
Genichiro?
guy who I know is the final boss, and
Oh, nope.
you lose your arm,
Okay, yeah, sure.
and then
We'll go with that.
yeah, close enough. Yeah, I've liked it. It's kept me just engaged more than a lot of kind of like action games would. Most of the time, you're just like, "Hey, you're some super abnormally strong guy. Go have fun." But this one, you're like, "You're good." But I mean, everything else is pretty damn good too. So you're not super special, but you're still like at least there's something behind you. Um, I like a lot of the kind of I don't want to call them side characters. Just a lot of the things you have to interact with. Like I like the guy who crafts the little the statues.
The
I think
Carver.
it's really neat to touch. I like how they did the tutorial. It's the dude who can't die.
Yep.
That was well done. It's just some dude just like kill me. I'm like, okay, if you
Yeah,
say so.
that's a
And
beautiful example of how FromSoft takes game mechanics and ties them into game story, so everything just fits as this cohesive package. Nothing about it doesn't make sense. It's not like, oh, there's just some training guy that I can kill. It's a guy who's cursed and is immortal and wants to die. Beautiful.
and then I think it really like flourishes through the bosses when you get especially you get to like Lady Butterfly, and then
Yes.
just the way she's written and the way that she just taunts you. Actually, the way that like everyone just taunts you, it really just makes you want to kick their ass, and then they kill you, and you're like, damn it. Because usually when you get your ass kicked, you're just going to quit. But they have it written in such a way where these people are just like taunting you, and even like the just like the tough enemies that taunt you. You're just like, you know what? I don't have to kill you, but I'm going to because fuck you. Like I'm tired of this. Um, yeah, it gives at least there's a motivation behind it, and you're not just like a new like a typical trope for this kind of game would be like, yeah, you're just like a like the Uberman, and you're just going to go through and yeah, sure, you'll struggle a little bit, but that won't ever really tie into the story. The story will never really have the main character fail. As far as the story goes, you're always just going to be some like super badass. For in this, at least, it kind of ties into the fact that you can fail and you will be failing, and it kind of happens. And right out of the gate, it lets you know, like, hey, yeah, you know what, you're not that great. We're going to kick your ass right here and show you that you will get your shit kicked.
I'm really glad you picked up on that. Also, it's 420. Really glad you picked. Ow, that's hot. I'm really glad you picked up on that, Pseudo, because one of my favorite ways to compare a character action game to a FromSoft game, because they are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. And true FromSoft fans will freak out if you try to compare them together. The best way I've ever heard of saying it is, in a character action game, your character is a badass. In Dark Souls, or FromSoft, all of the badass comes from you.
And I think that is especially shown off in Sekiro, because when Wolf wakes up, he's rusty. He's been locked in a cave for months, and that represents your struggle with the systems of the game. You haven't learned how to use the systems yet. But as you learn them, as you get better at them, you can go back to that starting area and just ruin everybody there.
Yep. And your character isn't necessarily that much stronger. You can kill those guys in 1 or 2 hits even at the beginning. They're just, you don't know what you're doing yet. And even the CGI, the FMV, the movies that you get to see between him at the very beginning, right before he fights Genichiro in that field. As he grabs his sword, he's sort of like fumbling, stumbling. He's not super confident. Later on, when you watch him fighting, he just grabs his sword and shink, and it's out. And he's got it, and he knows what he's doing. But yeah, at the beginning, he's slow, he's fumbly, he's still getting a feel for it, he's still getting familiar with his tools. Yeah.
Very, very well done.
I was leaning towards okay until we started gushing, and I guess I'm at good now again.
Well, and there is also the late game to consider. I'm going to try and be spoiler conscious for Pseudo. But because of the different routes through the game that you can take, you can experience the story in different ways.
Yep.
And yet they are all consistent. They are all like, no matter which way you approach it, you still get a fully fledged storyline with meaningful parts in it, depending on when you go to different areas. The world does change around you. Like, there's one particular area that I'm thinking of that
3 different phases.
If you approach it, there's one specific places that I'm thinking of later, though.
Halo, we're talking about your favorite game.
Yeah. We figured we hadn't done a Sekiro review yet, so it was time. But one specific area that I'm thinking of post castle is that if you go there immediately, there are some tough enemies in your way, but you can get through them. And if you persist, if you try hard, if you get through them, you're rewarded with some items on the other side and, figuring out more about the world that you're in. But if you choose to go there later, those enemies are removed by an outside force. And then you go to deal with that outside force. And I love that attention to detail, that attention to story, that attention to the world around you that FromSoft brings to a game.
Yeah, the feeling of an organic world where you're not the only one in it, and you're not the only one interacting with it, and you're not the only one making decisions and affecting things in it.
Yep.
It was a nice change to start experiencing that. And you got to be careful when you start playing FromSoft games, because you'll start to expect that from other games and you won't get it.
It's sad faced.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a good there, and I'm gonna let one of you guys handle that. Yeah, sure, all right. What do we want to? How do we summarize what we were talking about, though?
I think, while being spoiler free, it's difficult. But the story is approachable from multiple angles, yet remains consistent. um, the decisions that characters make within the story is very natural to their character. You never feel like you're being railroaded or forced into something. And there are choices that you can make within the character of Wolf.
Somebody was trying to tell me how, no, his name's Sekiro. I was like, no, his name's not Sekiro. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. That was as good as the guy who tried to. One of my favorite ones. I was in another stream. I don't even remember who it was now. Otherwise, I'd give them a shout out. Anyway, I was in another stream, and we were talking about how with everybody working from home, the internet's under heavier load, and some sites are going a little slower. And they're like, "No, the internet doesn't work that way, man." I was like, "Hey, okay." I love it when people tell me how the internet works. Performance, good.
Good. Have yet to see it drop at all.
Does not drop.
Although that being
frames.
said,
Much
I
smaller
haven't-
install than anticipated.
Yeah, excellent texture streaming and file streaming technology. And compression. The thing that I was going to say, which I think I may have just forgotten. Remembered. I have yet to try it out at like ultra wide aspect ratios, but seeing as the game ran seemingly 60 FPS minimum for you
Won't bother putting.
4K,
Yeah.
I would say that it's probably going to be pretty hard to get Sekiro to perform poorly.
Yeah, my 5700 XT just crushed it at 4K. Destroyed it. Pseudo first played it over here. He came to visit me. I sat him down. I was like, "Here, you're playing this right now. You got to try this out." And I threw it on. He's like, "This is at 4K. This is really smooth."
Yeah, it's a really well optimized game.
Yeah, surprised. I mean, it's locked at 60, so at least they can hit that target consistently, which is important because I think the whole game needs to run. It needs that frame timing to do other stuff. So it's good that it actually consistently can.
It's something they've always been attentive to in their games. They realize that their game, well, the one that I've
It's
seen,
something they've been attended to recently.
to make sure that their games will run at a playable frame rate. The only one that, huh?
Blighttown in the original release was like 15 FPS.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that sounds like it. It was probably all the lighting they were trying to do in there. They did a lot of lighting in that place.
And the draw distance.
Yeah.
Blighttown is big and
Blighttown goes a
open.
long ways. That's true, and you can see it all the lights and everything. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, they had learned their lesson by Bloodborne, where people are, oh, it's locked at 30 FPS. Yeah, but it's made to be played at 30 FPS, and it's tight at 30 FPS. Fucking tight.
No, not on the original PS4. On the PS4 Pro, yes.
No. I said it's made to be played at 30 FPS and locked to 30 FPS. I never said it holds 30 FPS. I realize the original
I
PS4 does not hold it. I know this. But on the PS4 Pro, it's butter smooth the whole time, and it's just fucking fantastic. Absolutely play that game on the PS4 Pro. If you own a PS4, what are you doing? PS4 Pros are a couple $100 at this point.
Because I did not buy the PS4. I bought it for Bloodborne. So when Bloodborne came out, I got a PS4. I wasn't about to upgrade to a Pro.
Fair enough. You had already finished it, but you don't really have like a PS4 to play. You just have a PS4 that sits in your house.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like if you're sitting there and actively playing it and you're on a PS4 non-pro.
My Bloodborne machine does just fine.
Until it slows down.
Yeah.
It does just fine until it doesn't.
It does just fine at playing Bloodborne,
Until it doesn't.
because that's the only thing it does.
Yeah, it slows down still. I am here now. Carry on. Haven't played Ori yet. Will you talk about spoilers? We do our absolute very best to not do any spoilers. We try to stick to just the scientific facts of the game that make it good or bad in different areas to help you decide.
Yeah, we will do our best to avoid spoilers.
We've managed to do storyline, characters, and world building without any real spoilers for Sekiro, if you've played it for more than 20 minutes. Really, all we talked about is the intro. Really.
In specifics, yes.
Yeah. Animation?
Definitely a good.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of derpiness, but you kind of have to try to make it derp.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the combat flow in Sekiro and the animations there within are like some of the best combat animations I've seen. The ability to flow between them, the fluidity of moving from, attacking to blocking to deflecting to using an item by Sekiro.
Yeah, if you can't afford
if
it, then hit me on Discord and I'll make sure you end up with it. If you haven't played that game.
35% off and you can afford it, buy Sekiro.
If it's 35% off and you can't afford it, hit me on Discord to play that game.
Trying to think of any somewhat strange transitions. There was some weirdness on particular bosses. If you were behind them, they would snap kind of strangely.
I remember some really rapid turn and attacks, but I don't remember snapping.
Yeah, well, not necessarily like snap, but like a very quick turn that you aren't expecting. Like you wouldn't expect.
But if I remember, their animation actually had like a backhand swing as part of it. Like it's specifically attack you when you're behind them. Attack fire. From what I saw.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
There's one specific instance that I'm thinking of that I had some weird movement on, but I was also doing weird movement, so like,
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we do. We go out there and like, hey, let's see if we can break this animation. Like that awesome like swagger straddle walk I had going on in Star Wars Jedi. You can't do that in Sekiro. You do that and you just end up going like really sharply back and forth because it just controls so sharply and accurately and quickly. And Pseudo, do you have anything to add to animation?
I think it was good. I didn't run into any real issues. I thought it was very smooth, especially with how the combat is, especially when you get down to like the really kind of fast-paced parrying and then attacking and dodging. I thought everything was handled really well. And I think some of the tough enemy and boss animations for the size of them are done fairly well as well. Yeah, overall it just runs very smooth. It looks very smooth.
There is one thing that I particularly appreciate about the combat in Sekiro, specifically the animations. I got into a habit of not using Sekiro or Wolf's combos.
Yep.
And just like timing my attacks so that they were ever so slightly out of sync of when you would expect them to be, and that really messes with boss's AI. But it was still fluid. It wasn't like the same overhead swipe every time. He would rotate to the other side, even with the weird timing that I was doing. And it was just really, really well done.
Yeah, movement just looks and feels organic all the time. Like, yeah, he looks like a guy using a sword. That is what it looks like. I've actually seen it before. I trained under a grandmaster who taught kendo, and I got to watch people practice kendo in his invite-only specialty kendo class once in a while. Those people knew what they were doing. Let me tell you, it looked very similar. That was an experience, too. That was an experience. If you ever get a chance to go out and watch a master kendo class spar, do that.
Do it. It's really cool.
Style.
Yeah, it's a obvious good. It is.
There's
It
one
is very-
instance that I can think of that is very out of place. And it's my main complaint with the game.
It's way too spoiler for you to mention it, isn't it?
Yep. I don't want to go into specifics, but that particular thing really pulls me out of the game.
I want to know. We'll have to talk about what it is after the game.
So I would say overall good, with the caveat of some pieces may pull you out.
Yeah, but pretty much everything I loved. Style. Between the style, the characters, the world building, the animation, and the control, I 100% felt like I was I'm absolutely a shinobi when I'm playing.
I can't help but think like there's two specific things that sort of pulled me out. You know what one of them is. You know very well what one of them is because we discussed it at length. That just feel a little bit out of place, even from an aesthetic style standpoint. Yeah, I would say that it is overall very good, but there's a couple of places where it just kind of loses me.
I think I know one of the ones you're talking about, and there is actual Japanese lore behind why it's there.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay.
But it just the way that they presented it, it just didn't work for me.
Sekiro should get the Steam Awards 2019. It also got multiple awards on our own little award show that we do at the end of the year.
Yep.
Including 2 awards from 2 different members of the panel for Best Boss of the Year for different bosses. That was one of my favorite things. We didn't talk to each other. We didn't talk to each other before we did all of our votes and choices. And when it came down to it, 2 of us chose Sekiro for Boss of the Year, and both of us chose a different boss in the game. And neither of us could argue with each other either. We were like, yeah, that's a really good boss.
that was an excellent choice.
You're watching ours this year? Awesome. If you notice on your channel points, if you don't feel like asking for games and whatnot, there is giving us a category even. And we will choose our best of the year and review and do our homework and let you know what we thought for that category. Hoping someone takes one of those, because that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be really neat.
I don't know what to say for style.
Good, with the caveat of some things require a suspension of disbelief.
This may be a comment to feudal Japanese lore more than the game's style. I'm going to caveat that because it really was just recreating their lore, and you're like, wow, your lore is fucked.
To a degree, yes, but it's also about how they represent them in-game. Like, I understand the lore upon which those things are based, but there are ways to represent them that were not the way that Sekiro did it.
I'm with you. I think I know the 2 that you're talking about, and it's 2 areas of gameplay that is very counter to the rest of the game, if I'm right.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We do it right at New Year's, usually right before New Year's or at.
Yeah, so you've got time. You've got time to save up channel points. Talking points, as it were.
Talking points, yeah. Yeah, it's our fun New Year little celebratory stream. Usually we have some games or something to give away. We only had like 2 people there last year, so we didn't really give much away, but we love to do fun stuff for it. Hopefully this year, more and more people. So this year, I want to do a raffle, and throw some Pookie art in it and give away some awesome hand-painted acrylic on canvas art like you would see down there if you click on the Etsy. And trust me, you want that on your walls. If you're a gamer, you want that on your walls.
Yeah, you do.
Musical score? I don't even remember the music in it, but yeah, I think...
There are definitely quite a few standout tracks that I do remember well that suit the areas that they're used and the confrontations that they're used in very well.
Hey, welcome to the table, Incaria. Enjoy your fancy new stool. And Lo, thank you very much for that gift sub.
Lo wants his free games.
Lo does want his free games.
And for anybody who missed it, we are giving away some free games. They will be coming out later in this stream. Anybody who hands in, spends some bits in our channel, anybody who resubs this month, anybody who gift subs, those all get entries into a draw so that you can get some free games.
Yep, we'll be doing that in a little later today, and your membership now in Caria means you are eligible next week. So check it out, and you might be in that draw. You just noticed the chair? Yeah, it goes up in comfort as you hang out. You start with your stool. Oh, hey, why
Start
is
with your little stool? You end up with a little chair afterwards, and then you can keep on climbing up them ranks.
Yep. What? That's not the one I wanted. Why does my sound effects not work anymore?
They're probably muted.
Yeah. I'll have to fix that later. I just set up a new sound system. I got my all my sliders and everything here. This is set up to actually handle it all. No, it's all set up. It was working. No, I have it set up a little different. I've actually gone in and it's set up some custom Python scripts to do some parsing so I can look for commands anywhere in the sentence rather than just the beginning and stuff like that. So it is working.
It's on cooldown.
It is.
Yeah,
it is actually working. It's
probably
just not actually playing. Oh, I bet I know what the problem is. Okay, you go ahead and continue with that. I will fix this.
Okay. Well, I'll do some entry here for the musical score then.
Sounds good.
Overall, the musical score is competent with a few standout pieces that are very memorable.
Fixed it.
The usage of music is well done and suits the areas, combats that you experience the music in. Loop.
Yay! Yay! Turns out the systems guy still knows how to fix the systems. I will save tons of money on tech support. I'm gonna go ahead and put a voice acting as good while you're that.
Yeah.
Voices of all languages work pretty well. Some are more hilarious than others. They sound appropriate to the character.
My name.
My name.
I will absolutely let you know when we have more emotes up in Kyria. I keep on wanting to make an A sound there. To the point where I spelt it with an A at one point, and I was looking at it going, that's not right.
I'd say sound effects is another good. That parry sound is just so satisfying. Actually, most of the sounds are satisfying, but it's done so well. It really ties in with the combat. It is fantastic.
It
Yes.
ties the entire combat to... I'm going to say it. We're going to say sound effects tie the entire combat together. It would imply just the parry sound does, and really all the blocking sounds, the parry sounds, the striking sounds, the grunts, the back and forth. Yeah, everything's just so well done.
And the fact that all of those sounds are distinct and easy to tell apart while you're in the very, very fast-paced flow of Sekiro's combat shows an attention to design that the FromSoft is famous for.
Yeah, I agree. Also, they're so distinct and clear that you can actually make combat decisions based on the sound feedback you're getting back from the combat.
Yep.
That's my favorite thing. Not a spoiler, but maybe a tip for other people. That's how I knew when to attack and when to block. I attack when I hear a defend sound, a block sound. I block when I hear a deflect sound.
Yep. And the distinction between the two is very clear.
Yes.
I know a lot of viewers of Sekiro streams get potentially annoyed by the parry sound and the deflect sound.
Really?
Just because it is very piercing, and you don't really notice it while you're playing because you're taking that input and using it in your gameplay. But I have heard a lot of people complain about just how loud the deflect noise is.
Huh. I've never had that experience with it. I heard the sound and went, I deflected it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between playing and watching.
I could see if you're just sitting there and watching it, complaining. Yeah, I didn't get that part of it.
Yeah, the specifically the people who are watching and not playing, not using that input, found it a little bit grating.
Because I know Pseudo had the same experience I did with it, which was as soon as he parried something, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's so satisfying.
I was very much the same way.
Accessibility. I don't know what
This
it has.
one's
I don't think
a
it
bit-
had much.
Yeah, it doesn't really have.
It has double inversion, and it has... Okay, so hold on. It has double inversion. It has subtitles for all languages. It did not have any impact on color blindness.
No. There is support for ultra-wide monitors, which makes me think that there's probably a config file that you can mess with the FOV, but FOV is not really an issue as much for third person games.
Yeah. I had no issue with it. You can see a lot. That camera just a little back from you. I don't get motion sickness, but...
Can you remap the controls? I can't remember if each of the buttons can be remapped or not.
I don't think it's complete remapping.
I think you can remap the keyboard.
Yeah.
I don't think you can remap a controller.
You can do some
might be
remapping on the controller, I believe. But yeah, just the ability to go keyboard mouse, I guess, would be expected on specialty situations like that. It deserves at least an okay.
I would say an okay because it doesn't just like throw accessibility out the window. But it's also not great.
I want to think that they knew that colorblind wouldn't be an issue with it. Didn't just get lucky in their design, because they are pretty thorough about things.
Yes, but they also can only take so many things into consideration at once without allowing the options, right? Like red green versus like shades of brown versus color deficient versus...
This is true. This is true. I just know from the people I know that would be affected by it, they finished the game and never had any comment on mattering that they were colorblind.
Yeah. It's just that there are a lot of different kinds of color blindness, and it's very hard to account for them all.
Let's not talk about just let's just put specifics. They did not have full controller rebinding or actual colorblind options. This will not be an issue under normal circumstances. What else did they not have?
I'm trying to remember if they had full closed captioning or just subtitles. I think it might have been just subtitles.
Yeah, well, they don't have closed captioning for like what's happening during the game, yeah. Oh, there is no FOV option, though this is not normally a 3PS problem. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I would say it's...
We might end up doing 2 hours just on Sekiro.
I really like to talk about Sekiro.
Because we do have to drill this mechanics home hard.
Yes.
Because I've heard some people say stuff like the death blow system is an afterthought. One that comes to mind. That needs to be corrected. Because that's not a fact at all. If anything, the health bar is an afterthought.
I was just gonna say exactly the same thing. The game could not have a health bar, and it would be fine.
Yeah,
like, there could just be no health bar, and it would be totally fine.
But the health bar is integrated in such a way that it creates a tertiary combat style out of two things. So it's pretty important still. But it's more removable than the death blow system.
It is more removable than death blows based on the fact that the combat in this game is so much built around the oh shoot, I've lost the word for it now.
The virtual sword fight, call it.
Posture?
Yes, posture. The posture system.
Yeah, posture is your primary health bar. Absolutely.
And being able to control the tempo of a fight is what lets you control who's losing posture at any given point.
Yep. So, I mean, that system brings in just a new realm. Not even a new level, a new realm of heal punish. Yeah. And absolutely. I love it. I love it. So what used to be in Dark Souls with heal punish is, you heal at the wrong time, you take a hit that's as much or more than your heal, you've lost one of your limited numbers of heals for healing in a bad spot at a bad time. Continue going. You keep trying to kill the boss. Sekiro, you've been pushing pace. You've been pushing pace. You've been pushing pace. You've got their posture bar 3/4 of the way filled. You take a hit. You haven't hit their health bar yet. You have to back off so you can heal. In the time it takes you to back off and heal, they recover all of their posture and you're back to square.
Or sometimes less than square one, because they then punish your heal with an attack as well, and now you're down health again.
Yeah. It creates such an extra level of risk reward. And then the tight inclusion, when I was talking about that tertiary strategy that comes out of it, now when they design bosses, so there is a relation between your health and death or posture, which is awesome, which is your posture recovers slower the less health you have. This mechanic works on enemies the same way it works on you. That's the core fundamental principle of From, is it's fair. That's fair, is you both work on the same mechanic, is what they mean when they say that. So the less health you have, the slower your posture recovers, but the less health the boss have, the less health, or slower their posture recovers at the same time. So now you can have a strategy set up where the boss has really, really good posture recovery, and the whole point is to dodge and duck and weave instead of deflecting, and poke them and get that health down a little bit so that when you start deflecting them, they're weakened and they can't recover from it. Or you can have the either extreme of just parry, 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 parry until they're dead, or just parry once and they're nice and slow and then beat on them for a while until they can recover, such as Hammer Bros and Bell Dudes and those guys.
Those guys will ruin your day if you try and only deflect them.
Yep. So
but on the flip side, there's also enemies that are very much just a rhythm game. And as long as you know their attack pattern, you can get them from no posture damage whatsoever to full posture damage in 2 combos.
looking at you, Long Arms.
Yep.
Loved that fight. Loved the long arm fight. It was not a hard fight, but after I beat him first try, I'm pretty sure. And when I beat him, I was like, I want to do that again.
Oh, that felt good.
It's like finding a really good song in Guitar Hero and then being like, I can't play it again. That's the closest I can describe it. Pseudo, on a more limited view, or more limited, I guess, hands-on experience with it, what did you think of the mechanic systems?
I think it's like the strongest part of this game. Aside from just the actual control of the fighting, but just everything that kind of rolls into that. Anything from the actual combat, parry, dodge, jump, all that stuff, mixing it together, plus even the prosthetics, putting that stuff in there is a really nice mechanic, being able to kind of choose what you're going to want to roll with for a certain scenario, as well as even just the hook shot thing to hop around is a nice little touch. Kind of, even though like you'll be walking from A to B, and even if something's not really happening, they just put some, little bit of grappling around, and all of a sudden it's a lot more entertaining because you're Spider-Man. You're just a feudal Japan little Spider-Man hopping around, and it just keeps it entertaining. It's very satisfying. It's very well done.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing him. Feudal Japanese Spider-Man.
Very, very deadly feudal Japanese Spider-Man.
Yes, and vicious. Oh,
so
vicious.
There's a thing that Pseudo just brought up that I had completely forgot was part of the game, and that's the prosthetic system.
Yeah, I always forget about that too, but it's really good.
I don't have a use for it.
Well, they're not necessary, totally superfluous, but they're super helpful at the same time. So you don't need to use them. You can opt not to use them, but if you do use them, they offer a dramatic advantage if you use them properly. I think it's a good system.
Yeah.
You don't need it, or you and I don't need it. You and I don't need it, but there are people out there that would not be able to beat the game without the prosthetics.
If there were a system to be removed to make Sekiro as focused as humanly possible, I think it would be the prosthetic system.
I agree. Okay, so let's say if any mechanic was an afterthought, it was the prosthetics.
Well, the thing is, I don't think it was an afterthought.
I don't think it was either.
It was designed in.
Me too.
But I think it is the least tied into.
That's why I said if any of them were an afterthought. I don't think any of it is an afterthought. FromSoft doesn't do afterthoughts usually. They have a big, solid package, and they come and they build it. Shows. Possible that the prosthetic system can be a crutch. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It is something to help you through the game.
There is no requirement for any prosthetic at any point in the game because they are hot swappable, and because they are well, not necessarily hot swappable. You do need to do it at a certain spot. But because you can swap them out, and because if they were necessary, you could get into a position where you literally cannot progress because you have the wrong prosthetics equipped. And it feels to me like they are very much the sort of system where they were like, this is totally a shinobi thing to have. This totally fits. We should do this. It can be super cool. But it just didn't work out.
So, actually, I do have a bit of a comment on the mechanics side, and that is the whole pottery ash thing. Kind of... That's probably the more useless one than the prosthetics to me.
I view them in the same light.
Yeah, I could see that.
Those like the consumable?
Yeah, the pottery you can throw to make a noise, or just in the ash you throw to distract people. Yeah, I just basically
I found that if I
them.
threw them, they would just immediately run at me. I was like, oh, okay.
That guy threw a pottery shard. Get him!
Like it's very much like this is a thing that a shinobi should have. A shinobi should do. Like they should throw ash to blind their opponents. They should throw pottery shards to get their opponents into a position where they can take them one-on-one and drop them, like do a drop attack or something and get them before they're even aware that the shinobi is there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it just kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the combat system.
I mean, it could have been implemented better, I think.
With when you get to Lady Butterfly, you talk to that guy. It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna need these snap peas. Here's one. It's like, oh, okay, well, okay. Like, do I
got
backtrack?
one of them now.
It's like, do I backtrack to get more, or do I just fight the boss? And it's obviously you're just gonna fight the boss. So it was kind of like weird to kind of put that there, and it's either you kind of just conveniently had them already, or like. For me, for a first-time player, I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah, for a first-time player, I'm with you. I got there, I was like, hey, all right, I've got this item to fight the boss. Oh, I've got one of them. I use it. Oh, that did not much, and now I don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super clear when you should use it because it's not in the initial phase too. So when you do hit the phase, it is kind of always like, okay, but like you do it once, you're like, haha, and then they come back again, you're like, oh, okay, well, and then you end up just doing it without it anyway. So it was kind of like okay, it's kind of a weird thing to encourage me to run away and
it's there
get
for
this item that you don't really need. I guess it's there for like a bit of a crutch. So if someone's really struggling at that part, then they can at least have something to help out.
If you're struggling, it's not a crutch because it's a one-time use item and that's it. And you've got the one chance. And if you're struggling, you've died. And now you're right back to where you were. So it doesn't really do anything for the struggling. I only see it being good for like the speedrunners and the people doing a challenge like no death run or something like that. So you've got that one snap pea that you can use in a pinch on your one attempt that you have for that run, and that's about the only time I see it mattering that they give you a snap pea there. I don't even bother using it. I just avoid or stay right on her and don't let her fucking do it. That's how I killed her on stream. Every time she tried to jump away, I was just sprinting at her, and as soon as she tried to move, I was just tack, tack, tack. She goes right back into blocks. I just built up her posture and death blowed her. I think she was at like 9/10 health for the second phase when I killed her. Something like that.
Yep. Yeah, and I feel like because you and I have developed sort of the same play style from specifically Bloodborne, teaching us how to play FromSoft games, I want to have a chance to pick people like Pseudo's brain who don't have that predisposition towards FromSoft games. Because I know that like Lo had a heck of a time with Lady Butterfly. I assume Pseudo, it was probably a challenge for you as well.
I liked that story from him. Okay, let me sit up and actually pay attention here.
Yeah, it took me a little bit, but to bring up with the mechanics of the prosthetics. Actually, I remember now that I actually relied heavily on the launcher for Lady Butterfly, because when she jumps up on the ropes, you can shoot her down and get some free hits in. And that's kind of the way I went through it. And I think it's maybe why some of those prosthetics were put in were for the people who don't have new to this kind of play style, because it can be very daunting. And it's probably nice to have some of these kind of options of like, oh yeah, you can, hit them in this point and it will knock them down. They're not going to throw stuff at you. So you don't have to worry about, blocking here or dodging here. You can kind of react to this. At least there's multiple options to the fight, depending on what people are, I guess, good at, because some people may be stronger at like the full aggro, but if someone's not really fully confident in that, yeah, especially if it's new to them, then I can see it being like very frustrating. At least they can kind of feel clever if they start, throwing stuff, and then all of a sudden they realize, hey, I can, interrupt them in this phase or interrupt them during this animation if I just kind of throw a thing at them.
I do love that
since
there's
then-
extra little mechanics in every fight, and
but
From
since
is
then-
good for that.
I don't think I've actually ended up using any of the prosthetics for the other ones, but I definitely had to use it on that, and I just kind of discovered, I'm like, well, like she's up there, I can't really get up there, so I'm just gonna like throw something, and it knocked her off. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is good. But I haven't run into that again now. But other playstyles where if you don't really let her get up there in the first place, or you just immediately jump after her, then like you're not really gonna need it. But I can see how like there's like the different kind of tiers that will kind of play into. If someone maybe doesn't have the reaction time that's required for just being like 100% aggro and be able to make those parries and those dodges that you need to make.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the AI response as I was learning the combat, it was on Genichiro, that really I made the big jumps forward, and I'd learned to become more and more and more aggressive, and I became so much more aggressive in a short span fighting him. I could easily see the differences, and I could watch the AI react differently in the fight. I watched him go from being aggressive and chasing me around the arena to running away from me and trying to use gap opening abilities and using his bow more, and they will actually change their entire approach to the fight if you get on their nuts. And I love that.
And that was one of the reasons why I picked Boss of the Year with the fight that I did, which you still need to go experience. And I still need to go experience your Boss of the Year.
Yeah, funny that, huh?
But it is very true that I am not your typical action game player, because of how much experience I have with the Soulsborne series, with Sekiro, with other games like Devil May Cry, where your reaction times really are what push the game forward. Like, your reaction times are what allow you to progress. And, much the same way with shooters, specifically competitive multiplayer ones. But that is not everybody. Not everybody has the same approach as I do. Not everybody has the same reaction times as I do. And that's very valid.
Yeah. That's a good, but to be fair, Pookie didn't have the reaction times you had. And Pookie had no action game experience at all. And she picked it up with persistence and got her face smashed in until she won. Now she can win. So anyone really can do it. But it will take persistence.
Very much so. And I think that's one of the things that the Souls series in particular is the best at teaching you.
Yep. Remember that you're supposed to die in those games. Other games, you're meant not to die. In these games, it's designed to teach you by killing you. So you die, you realize the mistake you made to die, and that's one of the beauties of those games. Every time you died, it was something you did to put yourself in that spot. You can learn from every single death you get in those games. So watch, pay attention, and don't do that dumb shit again. And you'll be okay. That's how you get better. So while Pookie may have died 1,000 times, she died 1,000 different ways. And now she doesn't die those ways anymore. I was right about the ape fight. I don't like him no more.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So for those that are in the dark on that one, he's fighting the ape in Sekiro, and as he started fighting, and he was like, "I like him. He's cute." And I was like, "Just wait till he's kicked your ass a few times. You won't like him no more."
Turns out he don't like him no more.
Okay, let's crush this last bit of Sekiro so we can do a slightly quicker Ori and then give some games away.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to give games away. Bugs, I'm going to give an okay.
Yes. Okay. I remember when I was initially playing it, I did have some crashes. Not many.
They won't
some.
really affect a normal playthrough. However, they are plenty. More
Yep.
than any other Dark Souls, more than any other From game I've seen.
Dark Souls 1 has gotten pretty broken.
Oh, actually, yeah, right. Multiple Sekiro versions? I don't think so.
Unsure what you mean.
I mean, there's been multiple versions of the game software. Oh, yeah, it's on every console. Every
Yes,
console and
all-
PC.
Released on all major platforms.
I recommend PC, though.
RNG. Yes. Keep that frame rate at 60. RNG, there wasn't any.
Which is
and
good.
There probably shouldn't be any in a game that's so skill-based.
The only RNG in the game is enemy item drops.
Which is fine.
Proper. I don't want the enemy to drop the same thing every time. I don't want him to drop something every time. Are there the same bugs on every device? Yes.
As far as I know, yes.
It's doing stuff like state machine confusion is a big one with air swimming. So they jump into the water so that it's swimming, and then they use an area of the map that they can get out of the map, so it doesn't think they're in water anymore because they're out of the map, but they've never left the water barrier in order to transition to not swimming state, so it allows them to stay in swimming state and just swim through the air to wherever they want. Things like that. It's pretty broken when you get down into it.
But like some of that is also made easier by running at higher frame rates. So like some of them are easier to do on PC.
But the boss dead angling is a big bad one.
Yeah, the dead angles are pretty rough.
That just trivialized all the fights in the game, and I was like, oh, because I wanted to see those speedrunners have to actually fight that shit.
But it turns out just dead angling them or getting them to run out of the arena and out of the world is much quicker.
Yeah, getting them to run off an edge is really the easiest way to kill them, and control isn't good.
Yeah, control is amazing. Everything's great.
This game's control is the new benchmark for all games moving forward. Does anybody disagree with me?
Moving forward.
Huh?
All action games moving forward.
Yeah, we probably need a bit of distinction there. I feel like
Okay.
we don't need this in the new roller coaster tycoon kind of games.
Shoutouts to the Doom 2016 100% run requiring you to actually play the game.
Yeah.
Kind of?
Big shout out to that.
Kind of.
Have you watched the 100% run?
Yeah.
There are almost no skips in it.
I definitely saw a Skippy 100% run where he was like falling through using the floating point jumps on rails to jump through level and then falling into the level in the areas where the secret was and stuff like that, and just smashed the whole game this way,
But
avoiding most of it.
Compared to any percent?
I mean, well, yeah, compared to any percent, 100% will always have more content than any percent. That says it right in the goddamn title of the style, right?
I mean, I'm gonna disagree with you on this one, but whatever. let's get back to Sekiro.
Well, really, all that's left is making all these say good, because they all summarize to good.
Yeah. As it turns out, we think Sekiro is a good game.
Yes, Sekiro holds up very
probably
well in
play
our
it.
system.
Go play it.
However, Sekiro did not get all greens. I do want to point that out. As much as we fucking love this game, it did not get 100% from us. Nor should anything ever get 100%.
There were definitely some serious problems with bugs, although not enough to break a casual playthrough.
Yeah, if you're casually
and-
playing through the game, you'll never notice them, for the most part.
And accessibility was okay. It was all right.
As long as you're not a severely handicapped person, you should be okay playing it. Should. We want that to be totally encompassing. We really do. But FromSoft, you focus on what you're good at and keep doing combat. Doesn't matter if 100% of the people can't play your game. I can. That's what matters. Alrighty. Ori.
Another game that we thoroughly enjoy.
We did thoroughly enjoy. Have you played this one, Sudo?
I have not. I watched most of your playthrough at least, but so I won't be able to talk too much on actual like control about the mechanics. But I was paying attention to style and music and all that.
Control is almost perfect.
I have opinions.
The areas where it flawed and fluctuated, glaring and bad, but everything else was really fucking good.
Yeah, but there were definitely some noted periods of the control not being quite what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, and you heard me going, "God damn!" every time I hit one of those moments. But world building first. T-shirt. I have opinions when.
I should get one of those. So world building in Ori, I would say definitely a good. You feel drawn into the world of the forest and living in the space that Ori does.
It's a small world, but it's a vivid world.
Yes.
It's a good way to put it.
Sucks you in, makes you feel like you're part of it.
All of the above.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the right word for it.
I don't know. Immersive, yes.
Thank
that's a good
you.
one.
That's actually the word I was looking for. Sometimes words go. Happens a lot.
Then they're gone.
Yeah.
Maybe they come back sometimes.
Sometimes. But like, mainly names. Sometimes words, but mainly names. Like, you know how big of a Tool fan I am. Always been a Tool fan. And then all of a sudden I'll be talking to someone and like, oh, the guy who hits the things for the band Tool. It's Danny Carey, by the way. It always comes to me eventually, but I'm like, what's this? Ah.
I'm very, very bad for that as well. Names are just brutal to me.
It's almost like you're my brother or something.
Almost.
Characters are good. I think. I really liked them.
Yeah, I really like them as well. They're for the most part very shallow.
Yeah,
Very
but
shallow
they're
characters.
not meant to have a lot of depth either. They're just sort of beings that live in the forest. They're not like super social and structured.
That's exactly what I'm sort of weighing in my mind right now is they are shallow characters, but I don't think they need to be deep characters.
The characters with depth have the right amount of depth still. The owl has depth. There's meaning, drive, and purpose, and goal, and development, and Ori has actually no depth. Never really learned anything about him.
Just a thing.
But it's so cute, it doesn't matter.
The little Ori noises. They're so precious.
So is this one of those situations where the characters are actually just okay, but they're so cute and charming that we're pushed toward good?
It's an important part of it too. I mean, if they could be they could have a lot of depth, but if they're not very, if they're not great to look at and you don't really want to, interact with them, if they don't fit what's going on, then it wouldn't be a good. But I think it helps push it up to that level.
And that is why I was sort of waffling between an okay and a good for this game.
So is that just because we have a personal preference towards cute characters?
I mean, it's what the game was designed and purposed for, and I think they met that criteria fairly well.
I think that's a good point. We have to look at what the game is made towards. Cute is everything. Yes, you're everything, Pookie, we know. So I guess it's a good then.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe they're good for the context they're in. I recall us talking earlier about how outliers are something what cause a character to be only okay or bad. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't fit, if it doesn't make sense, that was when we were talking about Sekiro's outliers, which was a context for that game. I don't think outliers are necessarily automatically a bad thing in every game. Like as Pseudo said, it's more about what the game was built to be. Because if we say, look at Earthbound, pretty much every character is an outlier. They're fucking weird.
Really weird.
But it works really well because the game is really weird.
My go-to usually for a bad character example is the dad in Fallout 3.
My go-to example for a bad character is Fallout 3.
It's just it starts off all right, and it's like okay, and then just from the rest of the thing, it's just a bait. I won't spoil it, but I mean, it never really gets satisfied, and it's just like not great. Like the character, it appears to try to have depth. You can tell what their intentions were, and then they just failed it on like every turn. Once you actually like start the game, it's just...
the ending of Fallout 3 to me was actually, oh, that was the end.
Yeah, for me, it was, oh, that's the end, and also I saved before this because I was expecting a boss fight, and also now you can't continue. I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay, I guess I'm not playing this game.
I guess I'm done then. Yeah, that was very much my experience with Fallout 3 as well. But back to Ori.
Yeah, much better game. Don't play Fallout 3. Play Ori.
Play Ori instead.
Yeah. Or if you really want a Fallout style game, play Outer Worlds. We already reviewed that one, and that one was very good.
Yep, good game. The characters are not deep. Don't necessarily have, convoluted motivations or anything. But I think they fulfill their job. They fulfill their roles in this game well. Yeah, even the bad guys are cute.
Data? Format. Thank you. Text wrapping. I'll get it right one day. I promise.
We should really just go update the...
But it's so much more fun
template.
To do it live every time. And let's go ahead and update that link, even though...
Oh, and clearing should work now.
How? What's the command?
Or at least no, I haven't published that. It's fixed in the Git repo, but I haven't pushed it to Heroku yet, so it's not fixed.
Yeah, well, I've set Ori in the name, so everyone knows. Okay, the storyline, okay.
Yeah, I would say okay is appropriate. It's good enough. It doesn't do anything particularly fancy.
Yeah, I was about to say good, but you're right. It doesn't really go anything too fancy, and I liked it. I did like the storyline. I liked how everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. There was nothing bad about it,
but it definitely
it's not fantastic.
Definitely doesn't stand out to me as anything that's like super unique or different or excelled, especially in that.
I'm going to say it's a good story for Metroidvania. They're not the most story-driven games. They're exploration-driven. That is exactly what it did. Hey, we need to go to this area. Here's a new area to explore.
And here's a reason to go do it.
I'm trying to think of Metroidvanias I'd give a good story. Axiom Verge?
Axiom Verge has a cool story.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good story, but it is a cool story. It's very different. If you like Metroidvanias and you haven't played Axiom Verge, that's definitely one you should play. I strongly recommend it.
I fixed the template, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I think Ori is good performance, right? It's a pretty tiny, simple little game. Should run on pretty much anything.
Yeah. I can't think of any serious performance considerations that you would have to make with a game. It's very simple, very straightforward.
I loved the animation.
Yes,
Probably the best part of the game.
Fantastic.
Judo, agree.
Yeah. Definitely agree with both of that. And as well as for style, it is a very beautiful and well done.
And they kept the style consistent while moving through a bunch of different environments too, which I really appreciated.
So you want to say good for style as well, I assume?
Yeah.
Unique and clearly identifiable. It's like what Hey, Mr. Raven, how you doing? It's like what I always say about Tool and why I loved Tool in their early days, because every single album they put out, you listen to it, you know that's Tool, but every album sounds different. Like if I put on a song from Opiate and a song from Undertow, you immediately know which one is from Opiate and which one is from Undertow. They were completely separate sounding albums, but at the same time, if you listen to them both, they're both clearly Tool.
Yep.
That is basically what we're talking about with the style on Ori. Every area is unique and different, but if you look at a screenshot of it, you know it's Ori. It's clearly Ori. It's got its own unique, clear, distinct, defined style, and that style is applied to each area, so each area is clearly distinct. You know exactly what area it is the second you look at it, and also, you know it's Ori.
Very, very well done.
Who wants to tackle musical score? You guys are the more musical ones of the group. I just listen to the stuff.
I would say good. I'd say it really, really, really fit the theme of what they're going for, especially in the parts that are a bit more exploration. When I was just sitting around and kind of watching the stream and listening, I think it was very. I think it was one of the strongest suits of the game as well. I believe they actually won awards for their game.
I believe that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah, they won in the 19th annual DICE Awards. They won the Outstanding Achievement in Music Composition Award, which is, it's hard to give that game an okay when it wins that.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It won awards. It's okay. Though, I guess sometimes I do have that opinion, because awards are usually a popularity thing. Not always.
Yeah, it depends on the
Did it have voice acting?
Yes, the narrator.
Okay. Oh, right, it did have some. I'm gonna call it okay.
The narrator, I mean, I liked them.
Yeah, I liked it, but
there
was
nothing super special about it.
There's nothing great about it. You could understand him. He wasn't offensive. I would have liked more.
And it was more just like mouth noises than voice acting.
So if it was gonna get a good, they would have had to get Mike Patton. Voice acting served its purpose. It was unoffensive. You would
Also,
have liked more of it.
We also should note that it was not spoken voice acting, it was just noises in a made-up language.
On a bit of a side note, I can't wait until we get to the point with deepfakes, where I can just replace all the voice acting in my games with Danny DeVito.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, or Sylvester Stallone, or any flavor. I feel like that's not an impossible future. Where eventually it's like, all right, I'm gonna put in my voice actor pack, and now I'm playing my old classic games with the most hilarious voiceovers.
I wonder if actors will be able to sue at that point for using their voice without permission.
You would have to buy a license.
Even though you were able to create their voice, Just
If it's a
yourself.
mod, then it's fair game. As long as you don't publish it for.
I guess as long as you're not selling it, there's
to
nothing they
stop
can
you
do,
from
yeah?
Making it
Yeah.
yourself.
As long as you're not making money off it, you're good to go. It's only when you're in the realm of profit that they can come after you for anything. I guess maybe if you're like putting them in a really negative context, they might be able to come after you for defamation of character for using their actual voice saying negative things, but
Yeah, I mean, in America, they can sue you for anything. Doesn't mean they'll.
yeah, I mean, just
they'll
because you
win,
can
or
sue for
even
anything in
up
America
to-
doesn't mean you'll actually win for anything in America, but you do hear some ridiculous lawsuits.
But I feel like the mods are going to get hilarious.
I'm going to put sound effects as good, because I did love the sound effects of all the abilities.
Yep.
And the monsters. Ability sound effects fit well and were satisfying. Monster sound effects were indicative of monster state and coming attacks. We often
Also,
talk about that people often gloss over on that sound effects should be indicative of what's actually happening in the game.
Also, they sounded nice.
They can sue you for being too poor, so I assume the sky's the limit. Yeah. My favorite one is that they can sue you for, can't remember what they call it, but if a person wins the lottery and they give one person in their family this much money and another person more money, the person who they gave less can actually sue them for the difference of what they gave the other person. Yeah, that there are lawyers that specialize in lottery winnings and how to handle them. And they just make sure you don't do stupid shit to get sued by your family, basically.
The fact that exists really colors my worldview.
I don't remember any accessibility options in it.
They do have separate sliders for audio, at least for sound effects and music.
That's about it, though.
Yeah, you can't remap the controls, which is a really big one, because that's how people that have like specialized controllers can play these games, because they show up as just a keyboard, but they don't always show up as like an actual like the same WASD kind of keys.
Yeah,
You need to be able to remap them, and if you can't, then it's a restriction. And I'm not sure if they had anything for colorblind, which might be kind of brutal because this game might.
This game has a lot of red and blue and stuff like that, and color indicates state in some stages. And
the designs, for the most part, are contrasty enough that it should be okay for most people, but it would be really nice to have seen some more accessibility around color deficiency or color blindness.
Yeah, it's a 2D side view, so inversion's not an issue. But there's no closed captioning. The audio's not a big indicator in the game other than the sound effects. I guess an okay.
Okay at best.
Yeah,
I'm okay to give it a bad, because it doesn't have much, but I don't think it needs much either, being such a simple 2D side view.
I think I'm all right with giving it an okay.
At least there's some options for it.
If anybody out there watching at any time has any of these disabilities and you want to give your voice on these, I would love to hear it. We would love to get the actual opinion of people that need these options on how good different games were. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. We are doing our best to try and be inclusive of people who need these options. And as software developers, we are aware of some of the impacts that they can have, aware of some of the ways that you can implement them. But if we can get input from the people who actually have to deal with these things, that would be wonderful, because we are trying to make this a repository of game reviews that you can actually use.
There are not many accessibility options. Just volume Individual volume sliders. How essential these options be. Sum it up. I missed something?
More or less. Maybe just add a note about like how essential these options will be in this game specifically.
That is definitely what I meant. Happy to specifies. Let's try to blast through mechanics, bugs, RNG, and control, even though those are some of the bigger ones. So RNG, there is none. Other than when health drops.
Yeah, very, very minor RNG on like health drops, and I think XP drops were consistent.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yes.
This is a skill-based platformer.
Yep.
Mechanics, I would definitely say get a good. There's a lot of mechanics tied to Ori's abilities. They all are thematically and implementation-wise consistent. The movement mechanics are all consistent thematically, consistent with Ori as a character.
Specifically thinking of the grab fireballs from the air and use them to project yourself through the air. Highly risk reward.
And also very fun.
Oh yeah, so much fun. It's so satisfying to get. Like I remember it well, Raven. Because of you, I remember it well. I did this complex jumping puzzle the first time and grabbed and like just at the very end launched myself through and made the final platform. You're just like, clutch. That stuck with me. Bugs?
I didn't play on release, so I don't know how it was then, but when I was playing it previously, I didn't run into any. And I haven't watched a speed run, so I don't know how broken the game is. Game-breaking bug.
Deleted. Are you certain that the Switch edition doesn't let you navigate back to older save files? If you are stuck because of a bug or glitch, I'm going to say it's good for bugs. I did that search and basically nothing came up. It wasn't like, here's a forum with a whole bunch of people complaining about this bug. The main thing that I got was a guy going, this is a bug, and it was already deleted because he's an idiot.
Yep. No progress, no major bugs, no progress breaking bugs.
And control. You had thoughts on this, so I'm going to let you go ahead and think while I get my hour and 20-minute late for.
So overall, I did really enjoy the control of Ori. I thought it was quite responsive. The abilities all feel good to use. The attacks, while very simple, also feel good to use. But at the same time, there's something about doing a platformer with an analog stick, and it just doesn't work for me. And the way that the game encourages you to play it, because it is so angle based, seems to be based around using the analog stick. But at the same time, because of how you interact with it and like the variance of like being able to do inputs in an analog manner, it felt looser than it actually was. And once I switched to the D-pad, it was much more what I expected from a precision platformer. Which, this isn't Super Meat Boy, but it is a precision platformer. There are lots of very tight jumps to make, lots of very tight usages of your abilities, lots of very small thresholds on being able to get through things. And I felt that the way that the game sort of based itself around the analog stick was doing itself a disservice.
I wholly agree with you. Though I understand why they went to the analog stick because of the angled shots and everything. Called? Where you grab the enemy projectile and launch yourself with it.
The enemy projectile shot ability.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it. It had a name, and I remember you used it before. But yeah, like with that, I can totally understand why they're pushing you towards the analog stick. But I'm with you. I hate 2D platforming with an. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel good. That, and the one thing that I had to complain about was the little automatic things that they try to do to clean up some of the animations. Sometimes we're doing automatic things when I didn't want to do those automatic things, and I died. Those were the goddamn it moments.
Lots of, I didn't mean to climb up that.
Yeah, no, I don't mind dying in games. Like, you watch me play, Sekiro and Dark Souls 3, I didn't really have many stressful moments. There was a few heavy breathing moments when I had died 30 times in a row on a couple bosses, but I never really had any blow-ups. I don't really get that frustrated or stressed out because I know why I died, and it was my fault, and I know how to change it. But when it's controls doing something I didn't tell them to do because the game thought it wanted me to do it automatically, and then that kills me, then I start getting angry.
Get a little salty. But overall, I would say that the control is at least okay, verging on good.
I think it was still good, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I have my caveats that bugged me, but it felt so good at every other moment of gameplay.
Yeah.
It did look pretty smooth. It didn't really look like you were fighting it too much to do what you want. It might be like the odd hiccup, but it seems like it was a smooth experience overall.
It was the odd hiccup that got me killed. And more experience with the game and more knowledge of those mechanics to, anticipate those automatics happening. I could easily work around them. I don't think it would affect me as much on a second, third playthrough. There are obviously people that no death speedrun Ori. It's a thing. It does control well enough to do this. And it is a tight and difficult and fast platformer. So some minor annoyances, some things I would like cleaned up, but at the end of the day, it still does give you enough fast, tight-tuned, good-feeling control to actually play a difficult game without dying.
Yeah, I'm all right with a good.
I'm good with having some caveats. It's not going to be an all positive control right up, but I think it still deserves a good. It just controls better than most.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement, and I do think as long as we capture some of our misgivings in the write up, then a good is an accurate representation.
Smooth and responsive, because we can't argue those.
Sometimes a little too smooth.
I think good is a good wrap up. Yeah, that's why we try to stick to the 3-tier system. There's no varying degrees of good. It was passable, it was better than passable, it was sub-passable. And it's still better than passable. I still would have enjoyed the game, even if its control sucked a little bit more. Not as much, but I still would have.
But there still would have been enjoyment.
Yeah. Our complaints are about the use of the analog stick platformer, though we understand the decision and the automatic actions performed by Ori. Got at times. The game is
So
still all good though. It's a 4 good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it looks like we did 2 good games today.
And I honestly expected them to come out that way. They
Yeah,
were that
both
good to play.
games that we both games that we genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah. I think the most amazing thing to me about Sekiro was Pseudo's review of it after he played it when he came out and said, could be the game of the decade. Better than I expected from you. Thought you'd like it, but not that much.
Yeah, no, it's solid. I mean, even if it's not something that I play all the time due to just like my issues with focusing, when I do play it, it's like this is a super solid experience.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big FromSoft fan. I don't say I'm a big ARPG fan. I'll never say I'm a big ARPG fan because I'm not a big ARPG fan. I don't like most of them. But the FromSoft games just hit that sweet spot.
Yeah, they are really excellent.
Yeah, I call them transcendent. One day I'll put together, hey, maybe we'll do a panel one day and sit down and spend 2 hours trying to come up with every transcendent game we've ever played.
And then just make a list and be like, everybody play these.
Yeah, it'll be our 2-play games. What I call a transcendent game is a genre. Basically, it transcends its genre. You know, normally if you like JRPGs, you play JRPGs. That's your thing. That's what you look for. That's what you want to play. Or if you like platformers, you play platformers. But somebody asks me what genre a game, like Bloodborne is before I tell them to play it. I'm like, well, what genre do you like? I'll call it that.
You gotta play this game.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's the genre you like or not. The game is so good. It transcends its genre, and it is just worth playing as a game as a whole. Just that good. There's a few of them out there. Chrono Trigger, one of them.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you like JRPGs or not. You're probably gonna like that game. It's just that good.
Same with Super Mario RPG.
Yep.
That is a great game.
Hey, Ninetales, how you doing? You having a good weekend?
Well, I guess it must be time then, seeing
It
as I
is.
see you changing windows. It's time for us to give away some free video games.
How many games do we want to give away?
How many entries do we have?
5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. 3 of them being low.
Well, if we've got 14 and 3 of them are low, let's say maybe 3 games, 4 games?
3 games. That's exactly what I was thinking. I am doing good. Weekend has been great. I love hearing that. We are doing well as well. We're in lockdown, but we're all software people, so we can all work from anywhere. So we're just hanging out, keeping sane, and trying to keep you guys entertained. We're just about to give away. We're getting close to the end of our panel. But we're just about to give away some free games, so you get to check that out. And hey, we're going to be doing the same thing next Saturday, and the Saturday after that, and the Saturday after that, and the Saturday after that, until all the games you see on that free game giveaway click down there are gone. There's something like 40 games on there, and I have a few more to add right now. Shouts out to Board. Thank you very, very much, Board. He threw a bunch of extra humble keys he had my way and said, please add these to the giveaway. So there's more.
Yeah, and if you're interested in entering into this giveaway, there are quite a few ways to do it. Well, quite a few. There are several ways to do it. Contributing any bits to the channel, could just be 1 bit, gets you an entry. Resubbing to the channel or subbing to the channel for the first time, that gets you an entry.
Just
gifting subs in the channel,
let's
gets
be clear,
you an entry.
Just being subbed, period. I'm just
Yes,
taking my
being
list
subbed.
of subs and throwing them in there. If you're contributing to the channel, you have a chance to win games.
So there's a variety of ways to get entered into this draw. Oh, and it looks like we got a low.
Yeah, I'm just going to remove that name from there, and I'm going to grab the random game. I've got all the games listed in here, too. Oh, it's the one that Orr said he didn't have. You won Alien Spidey, and I'll go ahead and hit you with that key as soon as we're done. It'll be in Discord.
So congratulations, Low. Enjoy your free game. Stay inside.
Interesting. I'll have to reach out to him. He was one of the guys who came in and threw some bits with Low while we were playing. It's cool. I think I've seen him in some other channels. I think he knew about the giveaway and came for that. I have to chase him down to give him his copy of, and if we can't find him, I'll leave it for a couple weeks and add it to the list. That's a copy of Zombotron.
I'm sure we can reach out to him through either Twitch Whispers or maybe find him on Discord, or maybe we'll see him hanging out in CarTube's channel.
Yeah, it might be where I know him from. Probably came in with one of the car dumps. Car loves to dump users on me, and I don't mind. I'll take it. And the final one for this week. Hey, it's Sprinkle Sauce.
Sprinkle Sauce wins a free game.
Homestruck fans. I do not know the game Homestruck, I don't think. That would probably be a no.
Isn't Homestuck a webcomic? I am passingly familiar with Homestuck, but I don't really know anything about it. These are collections of generally Humble Bundle keys that we've gathered over the years, buying different bundles or buying some specifically for this giveaway.
Oh my. Sprinkle. I don't think they're here right now. I'm going to have to track them down because you've won quite the masterpiece. Quite the masterpiece. I watched CarTube play this recently, and you've got some Cage ahead of you. David Cage.
Oh dear.
That game is a masterpiece, and you absolutely have to play that one. That's amazing. What a game.
I always end up buying these bundles, these Humble Bundles, and then realizing I already have like 2/3 of the games in them. So we figured, why not give those keys away?
Yeah, I end up
have fun with them.
I see Humble Bundles, I'm like, wow, that's a really good cause. Then I buy it and I look through the games, I'm like, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it.
Or I do want it, but I already have it. I do want it, but I already have it.
Yeah. That's where a bunch of the ones that, like the XCOM keys and stuff in there, I guarantee you that's in there because I already have XCOM. I love that game, and that's a phenomenal game. Anyone who ends up winning the XCOM, be super stoked. If you haven't played XCOM, try to get that one. For sure. And that...
We've got some good stuff in there.
We do have some good stuff in there. You want me to pull it up real quick? Let's just take, we've got a few minutes. Let's go through it real quick here for the record. X-Corn. Borderlands Game of the Year. Borderlands Handsome Collection.
All very, very fun.
I haven't played Darkness 2. Civ 3, other people really liked. I wasn't a big fan. Sid Meier's Pirates. XCOM.
That's a good game. And Spec Ops: The Line looks on the surface like a really lame third-person shooter, but it's actually a great commentary on like the modern military-industrial complex and like just how war is perceived in North America. Really good.
Right on, Ninetales. I'm glad you have your backlog of entertainment already then. Alien Spidey comes off. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, Pookie rants and raves about.
That is a wonderful game. Very, very good.
Darksiders 2 or Darksiders 1 is great. You have streams you can watch. Excellent. Yeah, we will have entertainment, but more entertainment's always good.
Darksiders 2, I was not as big a fan of, but I know a lot of people did really enjoy.
Europa Universalis. Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is fantastic.
Into the Breach, Killing Floor 2.
Fantastic. Magicka, really fun. Just crazy, blowing up your friends, running around, blowing stuff up, fun.
Cool, Incaria. Enjoy your doodles. And yeah, Hollow Knight is fantastic, Ninetales. Rebuild 3 is actually really fun. Much simpler, a little more casual game. It started out as a Flash game. Build 1 and 2.
Also, Psychonauts. How can you skip over that?
Yeah, because Rebuild 3 is long and more obvious.
Yeah, Silksong is coming soon. That's going to be very interesting, I bet.
Super Hot.
Super Hot. Super Hot's good. Got VVVVVV.
Yeah, Tilt Brush. If anybody gets Tilt Brush and doesn't want Tilt Brush, I'll allow you to pass and choose something else. Because I think it's VR only, actually.
Yes.
So if you have VR, how about this? If you have VR and you're part of the channel, reach out to me if you want Tilt Brush, and it's all yours. Because I already have it, and it's fucking cool.
Also, World of Goo is a wonderful little puzzle game.
Yes, built by one guy in a coffee shop. That's my favorite part about it.
Totally Accurate Battle Simulator is just a hilarious thing to play around with, too. It is just so silly.
Yeah, I know you liked tabs. Goo is fantastic. Egg is correct. You're correct, Egg. Worms Revolution. All Worms games are good. I love multiplayer Worms.
Super fun.
DMC.
Oh, they got Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition in there? Shit.
Yeah, Dead Rising 4.
I'd be like, I'm going to enter this.
Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. Bunch of Mega Man collections. Bunch of Resident Evil. Street Fighter. Strider. Pillars of Eternity. That's a good game. Metro Exodus.
You know, I never played that.
You wouldn't like it. You shouldn't. It's a good game, but it's not you. And then down at the very bottom, if you are a game dev, because we have a whole bunch of game devs here, I've got a whole bunch of these software packs with different icons and animations and models and whatever. Sounds, I think, are some in there. Inventory management software. UMMORPG, if you want to dick around with an MMO database structure and everything, what it all comes with. All the framework for the MMO, basically.
So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of really cool stuff to give away. Please do come hang out, support the channel any way you can, and enter to win some stuff.
Yeah. Let me give you some entertainments. Glad you could come by, Ninetales. Sorry you missed most of the discussion. Before we go, since you're just here, are you an Ori fan or a Sekiro fan? Which one did you come mainly for?
There is some music coming in my window, and it is jamming.
From where? Street or?
It looks like our courtyard.
Oh, that courtyard over there?
No. The one like inside the building.
Oh, okay. That's a sketchy ass courtyard you got there, sir.
Sometimes it's got good music.
All right. Well, I have never played either. But Gareth Coker, guy that made Ori music, made some of my favorite video game music of all time in the form of Ark Survival Evolved soundtrack. Interesting.
Really interesting.
I was unaware that he worked on Ark Survival Evolved.
Very cool.
I will have to check out some of its soundtrack. Yeah, I learned something too. Thank you. I love learning new stuff. That was awesome. If you like challenging games, I strongly recommend both of them. Depends what you're into. The reviews are in those links if you want to read what we actually thought of them. We're a bunch of designers and software people. They make it, I fix other people. Yeah, and we get together and help people learn about games. We love it. So, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I'm sorry we can't hang out later. I'll be back later with Subnautica. 5 minutes of Ori.
And if you're feeling bored before Deus gets back, Games Done Quick is on right now. They're supporting COVID relief in the States. So go ahead, throw them some eyeballs, watch some ads, get them some advertising money, and yeah, enjoy yourself.
So, until I see you a little later, I'm Deus.
Are we switching the order here? I guess I'm Suda.
You're in the middle. You got to go second now. And I am Rage.
No, Pookie's Rage.
Oh, yes, Pookie's Rage. I'm Pookie.
He's Deus. I am. Have yourselves a wonderful Saturday, and may all your shots be headshots.